This is a Torah scroll. If you're a Christian, you might think that it has been copied word for word, stroke for stroke, from ever since Moses himself wrote these words down. That's impossible, though, for an important historical reason. One that helps us understand the concept of the kingdom of God and its origins.
All I am, I live to see your kingdom come.
If you know anything about the Hebrew language, you know that the print version in use today looks like this. The letters are sort of block-shaped, and many of them have a feeling of hanging from an invisible line. However, this is not the script that Hebrew has always been written in. In the late 16th century BCE, there was a change in how Hebrew was written. The Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, which you see here, was replaced with the Aramaic alphabet. This happened after the end of the Babylonian exile, when the elites who had been captured and taken to Babylon were allowed to return. Among them was the priest Ezra, the same one who has a book of the Bible attributed to him. Ezra, like the other exiles, would have been schooled in Aramaic, the lingua franca of Babylon. The change probably was relatively straightforward, since Aramaic and Hebrew are related languages, and both scripts had the same 22 letters. Scholars have deduced that the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, were written, or at least edited, around this time. That means that Moses, if he existed at all, did not write the Torah. Whatever the case, these Aramaic script Torah manuscripts are the ancestors of the ones that have been translated into English Bibles today. In fact, parts of the books of Ezra and Daniel are actually written in Aramaic, and Aramaic replaced Hebrew as the language of the lay people well before Jesus would have been born. By now, you must be wondering what this could possibly have to do with the kingdom of God. Don't worry, I'm getting there. The shift from Hebrew to Aramaic is encoded within the Hebrew Bible itself. It's a record of the trauma faced by an entire people, one that many of us in the West know all too well. The spread of European languages like English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese to the North and South American continents and the Caribbean are likewise remnants of the very same thing, colonization. As a result of this, there is a motif in the Hebrew scriptures: polemics, attacks against people and the ideas they represent. In Genesis 11, for example, Babylon is associated with the pride to try to reach the heavens, the abode of God. God, however, brought Babylon low, just as he did the ancient tower built on her lands. In response to this traumatic past, a theme, a dream took root among the Jewish people. I think Isaiah 14 verse 2 illustrates this theme well. And Israel will take possession of the nations and make them male and female servants in the Lord's land. They will make captives of their captors and rule over their oppressors. By now, you should have picked up what I'm asserting here. The theme is revenge, or more specifically, colonization of the nations of the world. It's interesting, though, that the authors, editors, and compilers of the text that eventually became the Bible did not see the irony in the origin story of Israel having claimed the land of Canaan from the people who lived there. According to the stories, the tribes of Israel conquered the land, massacring its inhabitants. Or maybe they did see the irony. After all, the Canaanites are presented in the text as wicked, deserving of being wiped out. A propagandist reframing of the tribes of Israel and their God as the protagonists of this genocidal story. What's more, maybe part of the purpose of these accounts was to show how powerful their God was. if he could give them the military might to claim this land, then he could also claim the lands of the nations who had done the same to them. Like other nations with aspirations of colonization, they presented themselves as heroes to the nations they would colonize. For example, the verse right before the one I quoted above says that nations would join with them, willingly I presume. And in Zechariah, there is a prophecy that says that non-Jews would draw close to Jewish people in order to draw close to God. So maybe the kingdom of God would be more correctly called the empire of God. In a sense, it shouldn't be surprising that one of the legacies of Christianity in recent centuries is colonial conquest. Of course, I'm not saying that what the European colonial powers did is exactly like what happened to the Israelites or what the empire of God is described as. But considering that conquering and colonizing is part of the story of Israel's past and supposed future, it makes sense to me. Like Israel, the European powers presented themselves as doing a service to the peoples they colonized. For example, the British Colonial Office stated that they saw the English language as a tool to civilize colored people. They were doing us a service, after all. In the same way, the empire of God is presented as a way to bring God's blessings upon the world. The dual nature of the empire of God continues into the New Testament. It expands on the idea of this empire and its association with a military leader called the Messiah, who would bring this empire into existence. The polemic against Babylon culminates in the book of Revelation, with a symbolic woman named Babylon, who is defeated by God, followed by a great celebration in honor of the conquering Messiah. And following this is to be an era of eternal peace for all of existence. In the end, though, an empire is still an empire.